What's up, everybody? My name's Chance, and today we're going to be continuing our ranked rush to Mythic. This time we're going to be focusing in heavily on one deck and then taking a look at a second deck later on in the video. But Rakdos Aristocrats is a deck I really want to talk about. It's a deck that has been absolutely dominating as long as you play it correctly, and we'll see about that later on. But this deck it's amazing. The ability to draw cards, the ability to slowly but surely tick your opponent down, the ability to remove your opponent's stuff with Priest, even indestructible stuff, thanks to Priest's ability to make them sacrifice rather than destroy. It's really a beautiful deck. Now, looking at some of the downsides of the deck, obviously this deck gets hit very hard by exile effects, right? If your opponent's running a whole lot of lava cools and just gets rid of your kitty cats, it's going to be a very difficult time for you. If they have something like Gravedigger's Cage, right, or the new Hound that's in Orzhov that allows you to not play things back from the graveyard, so your kitty cats again are pretty much just X-nade, your Woe Striders are X-nade, it really puts a damper on your deck. So be wary of that. If you're playing in best of threes, I would definitely think of some way to deal with Gravediggers or the dog. Either way, both of those things can bring your deck down very quickly and very efficiently. So as far as looking at things to change with the deck, honestly I think it runs pretty efficiently as is. One thing I was talking a lot about during the stream for this is actually reducing the number of lands, because you hit lands pretty often. I also don't have all 4 copies of Priest of the Forgotten God, so I feel like the deck would have run a lot more smoother had I had a lot more smoother. That doesn't make any sense. A lot smoother had I had all 4 copies. So, a little bit of the inefficiency that you'll see in the matches is simply me lacking cards. And the other bit is, I'm still getting used to rank, still trying to make the best possible decisions with the best possible outcomes, and that's a learning experience. So, some other key cards that you could potentially throw in here. I'm not so sold on Kroxa being just absolutely over the top fantastic in this deck because of its limited ability, if that makes sense. Sure, it makes your opponent discard, sure it acts as sacrifice, but it takes up one of your slots as far as a card goes. And you could make an argument for taking out Ember's Shieldbreaker once the meta of Temur Clover passes over a little bit, but I feel right now with how many artifacts are actually running around, even when you go up against another cat deck, Ember's Shieldbreaker it's fantastic. It can destroy those cat ovens. It destroys the ovens, not the cats, but you get what I'm saying. It's great at knocking out a lot of the meta decks. So in the future, if the meta changes, I would definitely take out Ember's Shieldbreaker. It's a card that is solely in here to deal with what is being played currently. So if the meta changes, yeah, by all means, go to Kroxa, because I think overall the ability Kroxa brings to the table is better. But as far as having those slots for 4 cards and where the meta is currently at, it's better to play something such as Ember's Shieldbreaker, where you can actually break down your opponent's objective in the game as well. Well, that's pretty much all I have on Rakdos Aristocrats. Honestly, you'll see from the games, the only places that the deck really fails is my own shortcomings with logic, right? My own, trying to be cute or whatever. You'll see we ended up losing probably 3 games within this play session simply because I make mistakes. Had I not made those mistakes, I don't think we would have been nearly in a bad position as what we were. But you'll notice in the first half of the video that we were just absolutely dominating with Rakdos. We end up taking out mono reds, we end up taking out mono white weenies. It's crazy the strength it has. So yeah, all that being said and out of the way, we're going to, crank up the music and allow y'all to finish out the matches of this Rakdos Aristocrats and see how they really fare up against some meta decks and how to play them if you do run into those meta decks. And then I'll come back on when we hop into the Temur Clover decks, because I think we ended up playing a game or 2 with that as well in the live stream. So I will see you all in just a minute. Alrighty, here we are with our Temur Clover deck, and this is a deck that I really enjoy because it's not really focused on anything from Theros. Most of the Theros cards that are in this deck are in the sideboard, and it's like things that are reactionary, like Aether Gust and things of that nature. So it just seems very interesting to me that this deck has resurfaced in the meta, but none of the cards are really new. You know, that just means this deck has sort of been hiding out, and because the meta has shifted, it's been able to make its appearance, right? So one of the really key and beautiful things with this deck is the fact that all your creatures, or for the most part all your creatures, obviously Edgewall Innkeeper is an exception, have this sort of double-parted ability, right? They have the ability of being a creature, of being a solid body, a 3/1 flyer, or a 4/3 3-mana card, which is honestly awesome, or a 5/5 3-mana card, right? But then they also have the ability of playing this other spell that you can double. So the versatility within these creatures is what really brings this deck to life. It's the ability to have essentially 2 spells off of every card in your hand, right? So you draw your initial hand, you have 3 lands, you have 4 cards. Say one of them's a Lucky Clover. 3 of them are adventure creatures. You know, you get that Lucky Clover down. You have 6 spells off of that Lucky Clover with the adventure creatures, right? And then you also have the creature, so you have 2 spells per creature plus a creature, which is just insane value. So I really like the efficiency and the overall encompassing versatility of this deck, right? How many different decisions you can make, which I believe is partly where this deck I wouldn't say has a downfall, because it's not a downfall if it's player error, right? That's on you. However, it's something to take note of if you are a newer player and you're looking to go into ranked and you just see a bunch of people playing Temur Clover and you're going to be like, well, maybe I should play that as well. Sure, by all means play it, but I would definitely study the deck and study the best decisions and maybe watch some players playing it. Players a little bit better than myself to fully grasp the effectiveness. And you'll see here I ended up playing 2 forests back to back in one of the matches instead of playing a forest and an island and getting my Fae of Wishes down, which was just a huge mistake. But you know, mistakes happen. Everybody's human. So I would, like I said, when playing this deck, heavily focus on the efficiency of every decision you're making, because that is ultimately what's going to win you the game, is just being more efficient with your opponent, with your creatures, with your spells, and just taking over the game in that manner. Now this deck does great at ramping thanks to the giants. It is great at removal thanks to the bone daddies, the bone crushers, right? And the not Fave, which is the brazen borrower, right? Because you can bounce things just really easy. So it's really good at almost everything you would want in a deck, right? You can ramp, you can have versatility, you can have card draw, you can pull from the sideboard, which is why I think that it's gonna be in the meta until something can heavily affect it, you know, because Edgewall Innkeeper, a 1-mana card that allows you to draw based off all your other creatures, is fantastic, and a 2-mana card that allows you to double all of your spells, again, fantastic, right? Now, some pitfalls with this deck. I will say the best deck I think that has a shot of really taking it down would be something controlling, maybe a Azorius or Esper Control, something along those lines, that can counter the adventure spells rather easily, or can get rid of the creatures once they're down rather easily. And the reason being is if you counter that adventure spell, the creature's also gone. So you're not only getting rid of the versatile spell or whatever, the bonus effect of the creature, you're getting rid of the creature itself as well. So I think counter spells play a huge part in this deck. So alrighty, for refinement, I don't think I'm in any position to talk about refinement for this deck. I think this deck is great as is. I think my sideboard could be refined, because those cards I sort of went off the deep end a little bit with and made my own decisions there. Obviously kept some of the more favored ones, but in places where you're missing cards, you have to put in your own opinion, right? And so that's what I did here. So obviously the deck can be refined in that manner. I feel like the sideboard is where most people will do the touch-ups to this deck, right? With the grabbing cards out with Fae of Wishes, I feel like that is where people's opinions differ with this deck. But for the large majority, the main deck is going to remain the same. You're just going to play a whole bunch of Adventure, a whole bunch of Edgewall, a whole bunch of Lucky Clovers, and that's pretty much it. So, all that being said and out of the way for this deck, I'm going to let the rest of the matches play out. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope y'all enjoyed this format. It's something I've really been trying to refine and make it fit into my schedule, as well as be able to come up at a decent time for y'all, right? I don't want to be live streaming for my next rank climb and then put the video from the day before up. So I've been trying to think of a way that I could do all in one day and it not be too overbearing for me or you guys. So all that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did. It really helps each and every video. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions on this video, future videos, or past videos. And remember to subscribe if you're new here. Alright, peace.